Welcome, curious minds, to an immersive and expansive journey through the extraordinary life of a man whose brilliance illuminated the very foundations of our modern world, yet whose name, ironically, often remains shrouded in the shadows of history, a profound paradox we aim to rectify today. Nikola Tesla. Prepare yourselves to delve deep into the intricate labyrinth of the mind of an inventor, an engineer, a futurist, and a true visionary whose revolutionary ideas didn't just shape the electrical age. They fundamentally created it, laying the invisible infrastructure upon which our contemporary society is built, and continuing to inspire technological advancements even today, frequently in ways we take for granted, from the simple, unconscious flip of a light switch to the complex algorithms powering our digital lives. From the silent efficiency of electric vehicles to the vast networks of communication that span the globe. Before we embark on this incredible narrative, a story brimming with unparalleled genius, relentless struggle, profound impact, and a touch of tragic irony, I sincerely hope your day has been nothing short of electrifying, filled with moments of clarity, inspiration, and perhaps even a spark of your own ingenuity. Perhaps without even realizing it, you've already experienced the subtle, pervasive hum of alternating current, powering your myriad devices, the seamless instant glow of LED lights illuminating your home or office, the silent, efficient hum of an electric motor driving a myriad of modern conveniences, from your refrigerator to your washing machine, each a silent, ubiquitous, and often unacknowledged testament to the foundational genius we're about to explore, a legacy woven into the very fabric of our daily existence. If you find yourself captivated by the untold stories of innovation, the unsung heroes of science who dared to dream beyond the conventional, and the profound historical forces that shaped our technological landscape, please consider hitting that subscribe button and joining our growing community of knowledge seekers. Your engagement, your curiosity, and your invaluable support are the very currents that help us continue bringing these fascinating, often overlooked, and monumentally important tales to light, ensuring that these colossal contributions receive the recognition they so richly deserve, pulling them from the periphery of historical footnotes into the vibrant center of our collective understanding. Our story, this epic saga of invention and vision, begins not in the bustling metropolises of America, the eventual dramatic stage for many of Tesla's most significant battles and triumphs, nor in the grand scientific academies of Europe, but in a small, picturesque village nestled within the rugged, mountainous landscapes of the Austrian Empire, specifically in Smiljan, a humble hamlet in the Leka region, which now lies within modern-day Croatia. On a stormy night, July 10th, 1856, amidst a spectacular display of lightning that seemed to tear the very fabric of the sky and thunder that rattled the very foundations of their modest home, Nikola Tesla was born. It was an entrance into the world that many would later describe as a cosmic omen, a dramatic and fitting foreshadowing of a life that would forever be inextricably intertwined with the very essence of electricity, a force he would come to understand, manipulate, and harness, like no one before him, bending its raw, untamed power to his will. His mother, Kukomandik, was a woman of remarkable ingenuity, a true unsung inventor in her own right, despite her complete lack of formal education. She possessed an astonishing inventive faculty, a natural, intuitive gift for practical mechanics and design that bordered on genius. She was capable of crafting intricate mechanical tools and household appliances from scratch, often designing them purely from her imagination to solve practical problems around their home, whether it was weaving flax into linen, creating new types of looms, or devising clever gadgets to assist with daily chores, demonstrating an innate understanding of engineering principles. This innate, hands-on brilliance, a genetic predisposition for engineering and design, undoubtedly flowed into her son, providing him with a profound early exposure to the principles of practical invention and problem solving, teaching him by example the power of keen observation and creative solutions to tangible challenges. His father, Nikola Tesla, was an Eastern Orthodox priest, a man of profound intellect, a formidable orator whose sermons captivated his congregation with their eloquence and depth, and a gifted writer who instilled in young Nikola a deep appreciation for literature, philosophy, and the profound power of language, often reciting long passages of poetry from memory, challenging his children to do the same. He encouraged intellectual discipline, a rigorous approach to understanding the world through logic and reason, and often challenged Nikola to memorize long passages of text and perform complex mental calculations, fostering a formidable mental agility and an almost photographic memory from a very young age, pushing him to exercise his mind to its fullest potential. From this fertile intellectual and practical ground, Tesla emerged, exhibiting a mind unlike any other, a cognitive architecture that seemed almost alien in its capabilities, setting him apart from his peers and even his brilliant family members. He possessed an eidetic or photographic memory capable of recalling entire books, complex diagrams, and intricate mathematical equations with perfect, instantaneous clarity. This wasn't merely good recall. It was an almost supernatural ability to project images and information directly into his mind's eye as if they were physically present, allowing him to see and read the contents of a book he had only glanced at, or to visualize complex machinery in 3 dimensions, rotating them, examining them from all angles, and even simulating their operation. This unique faculty allowed him to conduct elaborate experiments purely in his imagination, a meticulous process he called mental visualization. He could construct intricate machinery, assemble and disassemble components piece by piece, run them through their paces under various conditions, and identify flaws or improvements without ever needing to touch a physical prototype, saving countless hours and immense resources that other inventors would expend in laborious trial and error. He would often spend days, even weeks, perfecting an invention entirely within his mind, running it through every conceivable scenario, stress test, and operational condition, meticulously refining every detail before ever committing a single line to paper or a single component to a workbench. This ability, bordering on the miraculous, and almost certainly a key to his prolific output and the inherent elegance and efficiency of his final designs, allowed him to bypass much of the costly and time-consuming physical prototyping that plagued other inventors, giving him an unparalleled efficiency in his creative process, a true mental laboratory that was always at his disposal. Beyond his extraordinary memory and visualization, Tesla was also plagued, or perhaps blessed, by vivid flashes of light that often accompanied brilliant ideas or profound insights, a phenomenon he later described as a form of second sight, or seeing the solution, manifest physically. These blinding flashes, sometimes so intense they caused physical discomfort or even temporary blindness, were not mere hallucinations, but seemed to be inextricably linked to moments of profound creative breakthrough, as if the very act of conception manifested as a burst of pure energy within his brain, a literal illumination of understanding. He also experienced a heightened sensitivity to external stimuli, a form of synesthesia where certain sounds could trigger distinct visual patterns, or certain numbers could evoke specific colors, and he found the ticking of a distant watch or the low rumble of a passing train almost unbearable at times, his senses overwhelmed by the subtle vibrations of the world. He was meticulous, almost pathologically so, about cleanliness and order, a trait that would only intensify with age and manifest in his precise laboratory habits, his choice of attire, and his strict daily routines. A need for external order to match the internal complexity of his mind. His childhood was also marked by a deep fascination for the natural world, particularly the raw, untamed power of water. He spent countless hours observing waterfalls, rivers, and streams, mesmerized by their ceaseless flow, dreaming of ways to harness their immense energy, sketching rudimentary designs for water wheels and turbines, even building small models, and experimenting with their efficiency and power generation. This early obsession with the invisible forces of nature, coupled with an insatiable curiosity and a relentless drive to understand and control them, laid the groundwork for a life dedicated to unraveling the mysteries of energy and harnessing its power for the betterment of humanity. The seeds of his future groundbreaking inventions, particularly his revolutionary concept of alternating current, were sown in these formative years, nurtured by an insatiable desire to transform the thing world through scientific discovery and engineering ingenuity. His early life, therefore, was not merely a prelude to his later achievements, but a crucible, forging the unique cognitive abilities and the indomitable spirit that would one day electrify the globe and forever change the course of human civilization, setting the stage for a dramatic intellectual revolution as Nikola Tesla transitioned from a precocious child with an almost supernatural intellect to an ambitious young man. His insatiable thirst for knowledge and his burgeoning fascination with the invisible forces of electricity propelled him towards formal education, a path he believed would unlock the universe's secrets. In 1875, at the age of 19, he enrolled in the Polytechnic Institute in Graz, Austria, embarking on a rigorous curriculum in mechanical and electrical engineering. This was a truly pivotal moment, as electrical engineering itself was still in its nascent, experimental stages, a wild frontier of scientific inquiry where fundamental principles were still being discovered and codified. The curriculum was undeniably demanding, but Tesla, with his eidetic memory and unparalleled visualization abilities, devoured the material with an almost superhuman capacity. He would often study from 3 a.m. to 10 p.m., driven by an almost manic intensity, absorbing lectures and textbooks with astonishing speed and comprehension, his mind a sponge for scientific data and theoretical concepts. It was during his second year at Graz that a seemingly innocuous demonstration in a lecture hall would ignite a spark of revolutionary thought, one that would irrevocably alter the course of electrical history and set him on a collision course with the established scientific paradigms of the era. While observing a Graham dynamo, a direct current, DC, motor and generator, a device considered cutting-edge at the time, Tesla noticed a fundamental flaw that most others either overlooked, dismissed, or simply accepted as an unavoidable necessity: the incessant, wasteful, and dangerous sparking at the commutator. The commutator, a critical mechanical component in all DC machines, functions as a switch that reverses the direction of the current in the motor's coils, allowing for continuous, unidirectional rotation. However, this mechanical reversal process was inherently inefficient. It generated constant, visible sparks, which were not merely a nuisance, but represented a significant loss of electrical energy converted into useless heat and light. Furthermore, these sparks caused rapid wear and tear on the commutator brushes, and segments requiring frequent, laborious maintenance and replacement, making DC systems costly and unreliable for large-scale applications. His professor, a respected figure in the field, upon witnessing young Tesla's intense scrutiny and hearing his pointed questions about the commutator's inefficiencies, dismissed his concerns with a wave of his hand, declaring that perpetual motion was impossible and that the commutator was an unavoidable, inherent necessity for any electric motor. He even suggested that Tesla was wasting his time on an insoluble problem. But Tesla, with his characteristic stubbornness, his profound intuitive insight, and his visionary refusal to accept limitations, refused to let the problem go. The image of those wasteful sparks, the inefficiency, the mechanical friction, became an obsession. He became utterly consumed by the idea of a motor that did not require commutators, a motor that would run smoothly, efficiently, silently, and with minimal maintenance, without the wasteful friction and dangerous sparking. This persistent contemplation, often lasting for days and nights on end, consuming his every waking thought, began to crystallize into a revolutionary concept: the rotating magnetic field. He envisioned a system where two or more alternating currents, slightly out of phase with each other, could create a continuously rotating magnetic field. This invisible dynamic field would then induce rotation in a motor's armature without any mechanical contact, brushes, or commutators whatsoever. This was the genesis of the polyphase alternating current system, a concept so radical, so far ahead of its time, that it was almost incomprehensible to the scientific establishment, which was then firmly entrenched in the principles and limitations of direct current. Tesla saw not just a motor, but an entire, integrated system: polyphase generators to produce the alternating current, transformers to efficiently step up or step down the voltage for long-distance transmission, and polyphase motors to convert that electrical energy back into mechanical work at the point of use. This complete vision of an AC power system, capable of efficiently generating, transmitting, and utilizing electrical power over vast distances with minimal loss, was something inherently impossible with direct current, which suffered significant voltage drop over even short distances. Despite his brilliant insights and the monumental conceptual leap he had made, Tesla's academic career at Graz was cut short due to a complex confluence of factors. He suffered a period of intense overwork, driven by his relentless pursuit of knowledge and his obsession with the AC motor, which led to a nervous breakdown. He also faced severe financial difficulties that plagued him throughout his early life, a constant shadow over his ambitions. Furthermore, he briefly succumbed to a gambling addiction, a personal struggle that temporarily consumed him, leading him to lose his tuition money and ultimately forcing him to leave Graz without graduating. He later moved to Prague, where he attended Charles Ferdinand University for a semester, attempting to regain his academic footing and continue his studies in physics and mathematics. However, the financial strain persisted, a relentless burden, and he found himself constantly struggling to make ends meet, his revolutionary ideas still largely confined to the boundless, yet unproven, laboratory of his mind. The financial and personal struggles that had plagued Nikola Tesla in Graz, Prague eventually led him to Budapest in 1881, where he secured a position with the Central Telegraph Office. While the work itself was mundane, involving the repair and improvement of telegraph equipment and the construction of telephone exchanges, it provided him with a crucial practical foundation in electrical engineering and, more importantly, a stable, albeit meager, income. It was during his time in Budapest that the theoretical concept of the rotating magnetic field, which had simmered and refined itself in his mind for years, finally coalesced into a complete, tangible, and perfectly operational vision. The year was 1882. One crisp afternoon, while walking in a park with a friend, reciting poetry, a favorite pastime that often helped him clear his mind and unlock creative pathways, allowing his subconscious to work, the complete, intricate solution to the commutator problem, the entire design for an alternating current motor, suddenly burst forth into his consciousness with blinding clarity. He later described it as a moment of profound epiphany, where the entire apparatus, every coil, every wire, every rotating magnetic field, peered before his inner eye with perfect precision, as if projected onto a screen. Overwhelmed with the suddenness and completeness of the vision, he immediately stooped down and, using a stick, sketched the intricate diagrams of his revolutionary AC motor directly into the soft earth of the park, a fleeting blueprint of the future. This wasn't merely an idea. It was a fully formed, operational design, complete with the understanding of how polyphase currents could create a self-starting, commutator-less motor. He saw not just the motor, but the entire system: generators, transformers, transmission lines, a complete polyphase alternating current system that could efficiently generate, transmit, and utilize electrical power over vast distances, something inherently impossible with direct current. This eureka moment in the park in Budapest was arguably the single most important breakthrough in the history of electrical engineering, laying the foundation for the entire modern electrical grid that powers our world today. Despite this monumental conceptual leap, Tesla faced the daunting challenge of turning his mental blueprint into a physical reality and convincing a skeptical world of its profound implications. His initial attempts to garner interest and funding for his SC motor in Europe were met with skepticism, indifference, and sometimes outright ridicule. The prevailing electrical industry was heavily invested in direct current technology, championed by luminaries like Thomas Edison, and the idea of a completely different system seemed too radical, too disruptive, and perhaps too abstract for the pragmatic European investors and engineers he encountered, who preferred incremental improvements to revolutionary overhauls. Frustrated but utterly undeterred, Tesla moved to Paris in 1882, where he found employment with the Continental Edison Company. Here, his exceptional practical skills shone through. He quickly gained a reputation as a brilliant troubleshooter, capable of repairing and improving complex DC dynamos and motors that baffled other engineers, often working late into the night to solve problems no one else could. His work involved traveling across France and Germany, fixing problematic lighting plants, and resolving intricate engineering challenges. It was during one such assignment in Strasbourg, France, that he was promised a great deal of money by the company if he could successfully fix a particularly troublesome lighting plant for the city's new railway station. Tesla, true to his genius, not only fixed the plant, making it operate flawlessly, but also, in his spare time, managed to build a rudimentary prototype of his alternating current motor. He demonstrated its principles to a few skeptical engineers and city officials, showcasing its smooth, commutator-free operation. However, the promised bonus never materialized, a pattern of broken promises and unfulfilled compensation that would tragically repeat throughout his life. A testament to his often naive trust in others and the ruthless nature of the nascent industrial age. This experience, coupled with the continued lack of significant interest in his AC system, solidified his disillusionment with the opportunities available in Europe. The allure of America, a land perceived as ripe with innovation, entrepreneurial spirit, and an openness to new disruptive ideas, began to exert a powerful pull on Tesla's imagination. He heard tales of Thomas Edison, the Wizard of Menlo Park, whose inventive prowess and entrepreneurial spirit had captivated the world, transforming daily life with his incandescent light bulb and DC power stations. Tesla, with a characteristic blend of scientific idealism and a touch of naivete born of his singular focus on scientific truth, believed that Edison, himself a great inventor, would immediately recognize the revolutionary potential and inherent superiority of his alternating current system. He secured a letter of introduction from Charles Batchelor, a manager at the Continental Edison Company, who recognized Tesla's extraordinary, almost otherworldly talent. The letter famously stated, "I know two great men, and you are one of them. The other is this young man." Armed with this powerful endorsement, and carrying little more than the clothes on his back, a few precious poems, and the invaluable blueprints of his SC system etched indelibly into his mind, Tesla embarked on the arduous journey across the Atlantic in the spring of 1884. The voyage itself was fraught with peril. He was robbed of his money and tickets, nearly lost his life in a mutiny among the crew, and arrived in New York City with only 4 cents in his pocket and a head full of dreams, a mind brimming with world-changing inventions. His arrival on American soil marked the beginning of a new tumultuous and ultimately transformative chapter, one that would pit his visionary genius against the established titans of industry, igniting a fierce battle that would forever change the way the world was powered, a conflict soon to be known as the War of the Currents. Nikola Tesla's arrival in New York City in June 1884 was a jarring encounter with a reality far removed from the grand visions that perpetually filled his mind. He stepped off the ship onto the bustling, cacophonous docks of a rapidly industrializing metropolis, a chaotic symphony of horse-drawn carriages, shouting vendors, and the relentless clatter of construction, a stark contrast to the serene parks of Budapest or the ordered, classical streets of Paris. With only 4 cents to his name, a testament to the unfortunate robbery during his perilous transatlantic voyage, his immediate and singular goal was to seek out Thomas Edison, the celebrated Wizard of Menlo Park, the man he believed would be his greatest champion and the ideal partner for his revolutionary ideas. The initial meeting between these two titans of invention was not merely a professional encounter, but a clash of fundamentally different worlds, a stark illustration of their divergent approaches to innovation and their very philosophies of discovery. Edison, the quintessential American empiricist, was a self-taught, relentlessly hands-on inventor who believed in the power of sheer perseverance, relentless trial and error, brute force experimentation, and the practical application of existing knowledge to solve immediate problems. His laboratory in Menlo Park, and later his machine works in New York, were hives of frenetic activity, filled with hundreds of assistants meticulously trying countless variations, often literally thousands, of attempts until a working solution, however inefficient, emerged. Tesla, on the other hand, was a theoretical visionary, a meticulous planner who perfected his inventions entirely within the boundless laboratory of his mind before ever touching a physical component. He saw the complete solution, elegant, efficient, and perfectly formed before any physical work began, a method he considered far superior to Edison's cut-and-try approach. This profound philosophical divide, this chasm between intuition and empiricism, would ultimately prove irreconcilable, setting the stage for one of history's most significant technological rivalries. Despite their intellectual disparities, Edison, initially impressed by Tesla's formidable European reputation as an electrical troubleshooter, and by the compelling letter of introduction from Charles Batchelor, offered him a position at Edison Machine Works. Tesla was immediately put to work, tasked with improving Edison's existing direct current dynamos and motors, which were plagued by inefficiencies and constant breakdowns. His exceptional practical skills and profound theoretical understanding shone through instantly. He quickly gained a reputation as a brilliant troubleshooter, capable of diagnosing and repairing complex DC machinery that baffled other, more experienced engineers. He worked tirelessly, often from 10:30 a.m. until 5 a.m. the next morning, driven by his singular focus and an almost ascetic dedication to his craft. Legend has it that on one occasion, when Edison's flagship ocean liner, the SS Oregon, suffered a complete breakdown of its lighting system, Tesla worked through the night, repairing the dynamos and restoring power just as the ship was about to sail. Edison, upon hearing of this feat, reportedly remarked, "This is a damn good man." It was this exceptional performance that led to the infamous Edison Dynamo Challenge. Observing Tesla's unparalleled ability to optimize his DC equipment, Edison reputedly offered him a staggering sum of $50,000, an astronomical amount at the time, equivalent to several $1,000,000 today, enough to make Tesla a wealthy man if he could redesign and significantly improve Edison's inefficient DC dynamos, making them more reliable and economical. Tesla, ever the idealist, saw this as an opportunity to prove his worth and perhaps to eventually introduce his superior alternating current system to Edison. He accepted the challenge with characteristic zeal, pouring all his prodigious mental energy into the task. For several months, Tesla worked with relentless intensity, meticulously redesigning 24 different types of Edison's dynamos, along with their associated automatic controls and other apparatus. He introduced significant improvements in efficiency, stability, and economy, far exceeding Edison's expectations. He essentially re-engineered the core of Edison's DC power system, making it far more viable than it had ever been. When Tesla finally presented his completed work and requested the promised $50,000, the moment of truth arrived, and with it, a crushing blow to his idealism. Edison, with a dismissive chuckle, reportedly replied, "Tesla, you don't understand our American humor." He then offered Tesla a mere $10 a week raise instead of the promised fortune. This was not just a financial betrayal. It was a profound personal affront, a brutal awakening to the cutthroat realities of American industrial capitalism, and the stark difference between scientific merit and business acumen. Tesla, a man of immense integrity and unwavering principles, was utterly disillusioned. He had poured his genius into solving Edison's problems, believing in the spirit of the agreement, only to be met with cynical manipulation. Without hesitation, he immediately resigned from Edison Machine Works, walking away from the paltry raise and the established company, his pride wounded, but his resolve unbroken. The period immediately following his departure from Edison's employ was one of the darkest and most humbling in Tesla's life. With no job, no money, and his reputation as a difficult employee preceding him in certain circles, he found himself struggling to survive in the harsh economic landscape of New York. For a time, the brilliant mind that conceived the modern electrical grid was reduced to manual labor, digging ditches for $2 a day to lay cables for the very DC lighting systems he had sought to replace. This was a profound indignity for a man of his intellectual caliber, a cruel irony that the visionary who saw a world powered by invisible currents was forced to toil in the earth, burying the very technology he knew to be inferior. He later described this period as the most trying year of my existence, a time when he contemplated the futility of his scientific pursuits and the harsh realities of a world that seemed to value immediate profit over groundbreaking innovation. Yet even in this despair, his mind continued to churn, his ideas for the alternating current system only growing stronger and more refined. His fortunes began to turn when he was introduced by a foreman to two astute businessmen, Alfred S. Brown, a Western Union superintendent, and Charles F. Peck, a wealthy investor. They were initially interested not in his revolutionary AC motor, which they likely found too abstract or futuristic, but in his designs for an improved arc lighting system, a more immediate and practical commercial application. Arc lighting was widely used for street illumination and large industrial spaces at the time, and any improvement in its efficiency or reliability promised significant profits. Recognizing a pragmatic opportunity to secure funding and establish himself, Tesla agreed to focus on arc lighting first. In April 1887, with their backing, the Tesla Electric Light and Manufacturing Company was formed in Rahway, New Jersey. Tesla dedicated himself to developing and patenting his improved arc lamps, which were indeed superior to existing designs, offering greater stability and a longer lifespan. The success of this venture, though modest compared to his grander visions, provided him with crucial capital and, more importantly, a platform. It was only after the successful deployment of his arc lighting systems, demonstrating his practical engineering prowess and commercial viability, that Tesla finally convinced Brown and Peck to listen to his true passion, the alternating current system. He meticulously presented his designs for polyphase AC motors, generators, and transformers, explaining the elegant simplicity and profound efficiency of his rotating magnetic field principle. He demonstrated how AC could be transmitted over vast distances with minimal loss, then easily transformed to different voltages for various applications, a stark contrast to the DC system's inherent limitations. The investors, now confident in Tesla's abilities, recognized the immense potential. They agreed to fund the development of his AC motor and related systems, establishing a new laboratory for him in New York City. This crucial investment marked the true turning point, allowing Tesla to finally translate his mental blueprints into physical reality. The stage was now set, not just for the invention of the AC motor, but for a direct confrontation with Thomas Edison and his direct current empire, igniting what would become known as the War of the Currents, a battle that would determine the very future of global electrification. With the crucial backing of Alfred S. Brown and Charles F. Peck, who had been convinced by the undeniable elegance and efficiency of his polyphase alternating current system, Nikola Tesla finally had the resources and the dedicated space to bring his revolutionary mental blueprints into tangible existence. In late 1887, a new laboratory was established for him at 89 Liberty Street in New York City, a far cry from the ditches he had been digging just months prior. This was more than just a workshop. It was a sanctuary where his prodigious intellect could finally unleash its full creative force. Tesla immediately plunged into a period of intense, almost frenetic invention. He meticulously constructed and refined his prototypes, translating the intricate visions from his mind into physical reality. His initial focus was on the polyphase induction motor, the very device that had sparked his epiphany in Budapest. He built various configurations, 2-phase, 3-phase, 4-phase, each demonstrating the seamless, commutator-free rotation driven by the ingeniously crafted rotating magnetic field. Unlike Edison's DC motors, which required brushes and commutators that sparked, wore out, and limited efficiency, Tesla's AC motor was a marvel of simplicity and robustness, running smoothly, silently, and with astonishing efficiency. He also developed and perfected the accompanying polyphase generators and transformers, demonstrating how AC could be generated at high voltages, transmitted over long distances with minimal energy loss, and then easily stepped down to lower, safer voltages for practical use in homes and factories. This was the complete, integrated system he had envisioned years earlier, a unified solution for power generation, transmission, and utilization that promised to electrify the entire world in a way DC simply could not. The demonstrations Tesla conducted in his laboratory were nothing short of revelatory. He invited engineers, investors, and journalists to witness his inventions, showcasing the remarkable capabilities of his AC system. Visitors were mesmerized by the smooth operation of his motors, the absence of sparks, and the sheer power they could generate. He presented his findings and patented his entire polyphase system, including patents for motors, generators, transformers, and the methods of power transmission between 1887 and 1888. These patents, particularly U.S. patents 381,968 and 381,969 for his polyphase motors, were groundbreaking, forming the intellectual property bedrock of the modern electrical grid. His work began to attract significant attention within the scientific and industrial communities, slowly but surely chipping away at the entrenched dominance of direct current. Among those who recognized the profound implications of Tesla's work was George Westinghouse Jr., a shrewd and visionary industrialist. Westinghouse was already a successful inventor and entrepreneur, having made his fortune with the air brake for trains, and he was keenly aware of the limitations of Edison's DC system. He understood that DC, with its inherent voltage drop, could only transmit power economically over very short distances, typically less than a mile from a power station, necessitating numerous, expensive generating stations scattered throughout cities. This made widespread, affordable electrification impossible. Westinghouse, unlike many of his contemporaries, possessed the foresight to see that alternating current was the future of power distribution. He dispatched his chief engineer, Albert Schmid, to Tesla's laboratory. Schmid was immediately impressed. Recognizing the genius and practicality of Tesla's designs, in July 1888, Westinghouse himself visited Tesla's lab. The meeting between the two men was a pivotal moment in electrical history. Westinghouse was not just impressed. He was convinced. He saw in Tesla's patents the key to unlocking a truly universal electrical system. He offered Tesla an astonishing deal, $60,000 in cash and stock, a substantial sum that finally acknowledged the true worth of his genius for his polyphase SC motor and transformer patents, plus a royalty of $2.50 per SC horsepower generated, a royalty that would have made Tesla one of the wealthiest men in the world had it been fully realized. This was an unprecedented offer, a testament to Westinghouse's belief in the technology and Tesla's inventive prowess. Tesla, having faced years of financial hardship and skepticism, readily accepted. The agreement was signed, marking the beginning of a powerful, albeit sometimes strained, alliance that would fundamentally reshape the world. Westinghouse immediately set about acquiring other key AC patents and began the monumental task of developing and commercializing Tesla's system on a grand scale. The acquisition of Tesla's patents by Westinghouse Electric Company sent shockwaves through the nascent electrical industry, particularly alarming Thomas Edison and his powerful Edison Electric Light Company. Edison had dismissed the sea as dangerous and impractical, clinging fiercely to his direct current system, which he had invested heavily in and considered his personal legacy. With Westinghouse now aggressively pushing AC, the stage was set for one of the most infamous technological battles in history, the War of the Currents. Edison, a brilliant inventor, but also a ruthless businessman, launched a vicious propaganda campaign against alternating current. He commissioned public demonstrations where animals, often stray dogs and cats, and even a circus elephant named Topsy, were publicly electrocuted with a C to prove its lethality and inherent danger. He funded and promoted the invention of the electric chair, deliberately using alternating current for executions to further associate a C with death and danger in the public mind. He published pamphlets, lobbied politicians, and used his considerable influence to spread misinformation, attempting to instill fear and discredit AC as a viable power system. His campaign was relentless and often morally reprehensible, driven by a desperate desire to protect his financial interests and preserve his technological empire. Tesla, a man of science and invention, found himself ill-equipped and largely unwilling to engage in such a brutal commercial and public relations battle. He believed that the scientific merits of his C would speak for themselves, that its inherent superiority would eventually triumph over fear-mongering and misinformation. While Westinghouse fought the commercial and public relations battles, Tesla remained primarily focused on refining his inventions, improving the AC system, and conceiving new applications for electrical power. He saw the larger picture, a world where electricity was cheap, abundant, and accessible to everyone, powering industries, illuminating homes, and transforming daily life. He knew that AC, with its ability to transmit power efficiently over vast distances and be easily transformed to different voltages, was the only practical way to achieve this vision. DC, with its limited range and inability to be easily transformed, was simply a dead end for large-scale electrification. The War of the Currents was not just a commercial rivalry. It was a fundamental debate about the future of energy, a clash between a limited centralized system and a flexible distributed one, a battle between incremental improvement and revolutionary paradigm shift. And at its heart was Tesla's elegant, powerful, and ultimately world-changing alternating current system. The war of the currents raged with escalating ferocity, a dramatic and often ugly clash between the established direct current DC empire of Thomas Edison and the revolutionary alternating current AC system championed by George Westinghouse, fueled by the foundational patents and ingenious designs of Nikola Tesla, while Edison resorted to increasingly desperate and ethically questionable tactics, including the public electrocution of animals and the deliberate association of a sea with the electric chair to instill fear in the public. Westinghouse and Tesla focused on demonstrating the undeniable practical advantages and superior efficiency of a sea. Tesla, ever the visionary and less inclined to engage in the cutthroat commercial battles, continued to refine his inventions and dream of new applications for his system. He believed that the scientific truth and inherent superiority of a sea would ultimately prevail over the fear-mongering and misinformation propagated by Edison's camp. The pivotal moment that would decisively turn the tide in the War of the Currents came in 1893, the World's Columbian Exposition in Chicago, often referred to as the Chicago World's Fair. This monumental event was designed to showcase American industrial prowess and technological innovation to the world, attracting millions of visitors. The fair's organizers faced a critical decision: which electrical system would illuminate the vast exhibition grounds and power its myriad attractions. Thomas Edison, leveraging his immense reputation and political connections, submitted a bid to light the fair using his DC system. However, his bid was astronomically high, reflecting the inherent inefficiency and cost of transmitting DC power over the large distances required for the fairgrounds. Westinghouse, armed with Tesla's AC patents and a deep understanding of its capabilities, submitted a counterbid that was significantly lower, almost half of Edison's proposal. He demonstrated that AC could power the entire fair from a single centralized generating plant, efficiently transmitting power across the sprawling grounds and transforming it for various uses. Despite Edison's relentless smear campaign, the financial and technical advantages of Westinghouse's AC bid were simply too compelling to ignore. The contract was awarded to Westinghouse Electric Company, a monumental victory that signaled a paradigm shift in the electrification of America. Chicago World's Fair became a dazzling living testament to the power and versatility of alternating current. On May 1, 1893, President Grover Cleveland pressed a golden telegraph key, and with that single act, the entire fairgrounds burst into a breathtaking spectacle of light. Over 100,000 incandescent lamps, powered by Tesla's AC system, illuminated the white city with an ethereal glow, transforming night into day. Visitors were awestruck by the sheer brilliance and uniformity of the illumination, a stark contrast to the flickering gas lamps and limited DC lighting they were accustomed to. The fair was not just about light. It was a showcase for the future. Tesla himself was given a dedicated exhibit in the Westinghouse building, where he captivated audiences with mesmerizing demonstrations of his AC motors, generators, and transformers. He demonstrated the principles of the rotating magnetic field, showed how his motors could run without commutators, and even performed astonishing feats of wireless power transmission, lighting vacuum tubes from a distance without wires, a precursor to his later, more ambitious wireless experiments. He demonstrated the safety of high-frequency AC by passing current through his own body to light a lamp, proving that it was not inherently lethal when properly handled, directly refuting Edison's fear-mongering. The fair was a resounding triumph. For EC, a public relations coup that irrevocably shifted public opinion and firmly established alternating current as the superior system for widespread electrification. It was a clear, undeniable victory for Tesla's vision and Westinghouse's commercial acumen. The success at the Chicago World's Fair paved the way for an even grander project, the harnessing of Niagara Falls. For decades, engineers had dreamed of tapping into the immense power of the falls. But the challenge of transmitting that power over long distances had seemed insurmountable with DC technology. With the proven capabilities of Tesla's AC system, this dream suddenly became a tangible reality. A consortium of powerful businessmen, including J.P. Morgan, John Jacob Astor IV, and the Rothschilds, formed the Cataract Construction Company to undertake this monumental task. Initially, there was still debate about whether to use AC or DC. Lord Kelvin, a highly respected British physicist and a consultant for the project, initially favored DC. However, George Westinghouse, armed with Tesla's patents and the undeniable success of the Chicago Fair, tirelessly advocated for AC. Tesla himself was deeply involved in the design discussions, providing crucial insights and calculations. In 1893, the Cataract Construction Company officially awarded the contract for the Niagara Falls power plant to Westinghouse Electric, with General Electric, Edison's company, which had merged with Thomson Houston, receiving a secondary contract for the transmission lines. This was the ultimate vindication for Tesla's AC system. The project involved building massive hydroelectric generators at the falls, designed by Westinghouse engineers based on Tesla's polyphase principles to produce alternating current. The power was then transmitted at high voltage over 20 miles to Buffalo, New York, where it was stepped down by transformers for distribution to homes and industries. On November 16, 1896, the Niagara Falls power plant officially began transmitting electricity to Buffalo, marking a monumental achievement in engineering and a definitive end to the War of the Currents. The successful electrification of Buffalo from Niagara Falls demonstrated beyond any doubt that Tesla's AC system was not only superior, but essential for large-scale power generation and long-distance transmission. It proved that electricity could be generated at remote locations and delivered efficiently to distant urban centers, fundamentally changing the landscape of industrial development and urban planning. This triumph cemented AC's place as the standard for power distribution worldwide, a legacy that continues to power our planet today. Tesla's vision of a world powered by alternating current had become a reality, transforming a natural wonder into a source of boundless energy for human progress. With the decisive victory in the War of the Currents, solidified by the spectacular success at the Chicago World's Fair and the monumental harnessing of Niagara Falls, Nikola Tesla's alternating current system was unequivocally established as the global standard for power generation and transmission. This triumph, however, marked not an end but a new beginning for Tesla, who, unlike many inventors, was never content to rest on his laurels or simply commercialize a single breakthrough. His mind, restless engine of innovation, was already racing far beyond the practical applications of AC, venturing into realms that seemed almost fantastical to his contemporaries. Having solved the problem of efficient power distribution, Tesla's next grand obsession became the concept of wireless energy transmission, the idea of sending electrical power through the air without wires to any point on the globe. He envisioned a world where electricity was not just abundant and cheap, but universally accessible, transmitted freely and wirelessly, much like radio waves. This was a vision born not just of scientific curiosity, but of a deep humanitarian impulse, a desire to provide energy to even the most remote corners of the earth. His early experiments in wireless power began in his New York City laboratories. In the mid-1890s, he started by working with high-frequency, high-voltage alternating currents, pushing the boundaries of electrical engineering far beyond what was then understood. He developed and refined the Tesla coil, a resonant transformer circuit capable of producing extremely high voltages at high frequencies, generating spectacular electrical discharges that mesmerized observers. These coils, which are still used today in various applications from radio technology to medical devices, allowed him to explore the properties of high-frequency currents and their potential for wireless transmission. He demonstrated astonishing feats in his lab, lighting vacuum tubes from a distance without any physical connection, operating small motors wirelessly, and even passing high-frequency currents through his own body to illuminate light bulbs, proving that high-frequency AC, while visually dramatic, was not inherently lethal, directly countering Edison's earlier fear-mongering. These demonstrations were not mere parlor tricks. They were foundational experiments in resonant electrical circuits and radio frequency phenomena, laying the groundwork for much of modern wireless communication. Tesla's ambition, however, extended far beyond simply lighting a few bulbs wirelessly. He dreamed of a world system of wireless power and communication. He envisioned a network of massive interconnected towers strategically placed around the globe that would broadcast electrical energy and information through the Earth and its atmosphere, making energy as free and accessible as the air we breathe. This was a truly audacious concept, one that combined his understanding of electrical resonance with his intuitive grasp of the Earth's natural frequencies. He believed the Earth itself could act as a conductor, a giant electrical resonator, capable of transmitting power and signals globally with minimal loss. To pursue this monumental vision, Tesla needed significant financial backing. His reputation was at its peak after the Niagara Falls triumph, and he managed to secure funding from some of the most powerful financiers of the era, most notably J.P. Morgan, the titan of American finance. Morgan, initially intrigued by the potential for wireless telegraphy, which could revolutionize global communication and provide immense profits, invested $150,000, an enormous sum at the time, in Tesla's ambitious project. With this capital, Tesla began construction of his most famous and ultimately most tragic endeavor, Wardenclyffe Tower, located on Long Island, New York. Wardenclyffe was designed to be the prototype of his global wireless power and communication system. The tower itself was a massive, distinctive structure, nearly 187 feet tall, topped with a large, mushroom-shaped copper dome. Below ground, an elaborate network of tunnels and shafts extended hundreds of feet deep, intended to anchor the tower and provide a massive ground connection to the Earth's electrical currents, a critical component of his resonant transmission system. Construction on Wardenclyffe began in 1901, and Tesla poured his heart and soul, along with Morgan's money, into the project. He envisioned it not just as a communication hub, but as a universal power plant capable of transmitting limitless energy to ships at sea, remote factories, and even individual homes, all without the need for cumbersome and expensive wires. He believed it could also transmit voice, images, and even provide global navigation. However, as the project progressed, J.P. Morgan began to realize that Tesla's vision extended far beyond mere wireless telegraphy, which was a profitable, controlled system. Tesla's concept of free, wireless energy for all was fundamentally antithetical to Morgan's business model, which relied on metering and selling power. Morgan famously asked Tesla how he intended to put a meter on free energy. This fundamental philosophical conflict, coupled with the escalating costs of the project and the emergence of Guglielmo Marconi's more commercially viable, albeit far less ambitious, radio telegraphy system, led Morgan to withdraw his funding. Marconi, building on the work of many scientists including Tesla, who had patented fundamental radio technologies years earlier, including the four-tuned circuit essential for radio communication, successfully sent the first transatlantic wireless message in 1901, While Marconi's system was a point-to-point communication method, limited in scope compared to Tesla's global vision, it was practical, cheaper, and immediately commercializable. Morgan and other investors saw the immediate profit potential in Marconi's more conventional approach, and Tesla's grand, free energy vision suddenly seemed less appealing and financially risky. Without Morgan's continued support, and unable to secure new funding from other wary investors, the construction of Wardenclyffe ground to a halt in 1906. Tesla was devastated. His dream of a world system that would revolutionize humanity's access to energy and information remained unfinished, a colossal monument to a vision too grand for its time, or perhaps too threatening to the established economic order. The magnificent tower, once a symbol of boundless possibility, stood as a silent, decaying testament to a future that never quite arrived, a heartbreaking symbol of Tesla's unfulfilled ambitions and the tragic clash between pure scientific idealism and the harsh realities of commercial enterprise. The failure of Wardenclyffe marked a turning point in Tesla's life, pushing him further into the periphery of mainstream science and industry, even as his mind continued to churn with new, equally radical ideas. The abandonment of Wardenclyffe Tower in 1906 marked a profound and devastating turning point in Nikola Tesla's life. It was not merely the loss of a project. It was the shattering of his most cherished dream, the collapse of his vision for a benevolent world system that would provide limitless, free energy and communication to all humanity. The financial and emotional toll was immense. He had poured his entire being, his intellectual capital, and the considerable financial backing from J.P. Morgan into this endeavor, only to see it crumble due to a fundamental clash between his utopian ideals and the commercial imperative of profit. The failure pushed him further into the periphery of mainstream science and industry, and while he continued to invent and theorize, his later projects would never again command the same level of public attention or financial investment. Despite this crushing setback, Tesla's mind, a restless engine of innovation, remained undimmed. He continued his relentless pursuit of knowledge and new inventions, often working in isolation, fueled by an almost obsessive dedication to scientific discovery. His focus shifted to a myriad of diverse fields, demonstrating the incredible breadth of his intellectual curiosity. He delved deeper into the properties of high-frequency electricity, exploring its potential for medical applications, including early forms of electrotherapy and even X-ray technology. He experimented with various forms of lighting, developing some of the earliest neon and fluorescent lights long before they became commonplace. He was fascinated by robotics and remote control, envisioning a future where machines could perform tasks autonomously or be controlled from a distance. In 1898, at Madison Square Garden, he famously demonstrated a radio-controlled boat, navigating it around a pool using remote signals. This was a truly revolutionary feat, decades ahead of its time, showcasing the practical application of wireless control and laying the conceptual groundwork for modern remote control, robotics, and even drones. The audience, accustomed to seeing only mechanical marvels, was utterly bewildered, some even suggesting it was telepathy or magic. Tesla's later years were also marked by increasingly eccentric behavior and a growing detachment from the mundane realities of life. He developed peculiar habits, such as his obsession with the number 3, meticulously counting his steps, and performing actions in multiples of 3. He became a strict vegetarian, consumed only boiled water, and developed an aversion to anything round or pearls. He lived in a series of New York hotels, moving frequently, often leaving behind unpaid bills. His once impeccable attire became increasingly worn, and he grew thin, sustained primarily by his intellectual pursuits and a meager diet. He became known for his daily ritual of feeding pigeons in Bryant Park, developing a particular fondness for one white pigeon, which he claimed to love as one would a human being, even bringing it back to his hotel room when it was injured. These eccentricities, while endearing to some, contributed to his growing image as a reclusive mad scientist, further alienating him from potential investors in the scientific establishment. In 1912, a curious incident occurred that highlighted both Tesla's genius and his increasingly complex relationship with the scientific community. The Nobel Prize in Physics for that year was rumored to be awarded jointly to Thomas Edison and Nikola Tesla. The news generated considerable excitement, as it would have been a monumental recognition of their combined contributions to electrical science. However, neither man ultimately received the prize. While the official reasons remain somewhat ambiguous, it is widely believed that both Edison and Tesla refused to share the award, each believing their contributions to be singularly superior and unwilling to acknowledge the other's work. Tesla, in particular, reportedly expressed disdain for sharing an honor with Edison, whom he viewed as a mere empiricist lacking true scientific understanding. This episode, whether due to their mutual animosity or other factors, underscored the deep-seated rivalry that persisted between them, even decades after the War of the Currents had concluded. Despite his financial struggles and growing isolation, Tesla continued to file patents and publish articles, often outlining visionary concepts that were decades or even a century ahead of their time. He theorized about intercontinental ballistic missiles, radar technology, particle beam weapons, which he famously called the death ray, and even methods for controlling weather. While many of these ideas remain theoretical or were only partially developed, they demonstrated his unparalleled foresight and his ability to conceptualize technologies that would only become feasible with future scientific advancements. His death ray concept, in particular, garnered significant media attention and fueled public fascination, though it also contributed to his image as an eccentric, perhaps dangerous figure. He envisioned it as a defensive weapon capable of ending all wars by making invasion impossible. By the 1930s, Tesla was largely forgotten by the general public, overshadowed by other scientific figures and the rapid pace of technological change. His patents had expired, and he no longer received significant royalties from his groundbreaking AC system. He relied on a small pension from the Yugoslavian government and occasional grants from Westinghouse, who, despite their earlier disputes, still recognized his immense contributions. He spent his final years in room 3327 of the New Yorker Hotel, largely alone, continuing his mental experiments and feeding his beloved pigeons. He died quietly in his sleep on January 7, 1943, at the age of 86, a pauper in monetary terms, but a titan in intellectual legacy. The FBI, concerned about his death ray research and other potentially sensitive inventions during wartime, immediately seized his papers and belongings. His passing went largely unnoticed by the public, a stark and tragic end for the man who had given the world the very power that illuminated its cities and fueled its industries. However, his story and the true magnitude of his contributions would eventually be rediscovered, slowly emerging from the shadows of history to claim its rightful place. Nikola Tesla's passing on January 7, 1943, in his modest hotel room at the New Yorker Hotel, was, in a cruel twist of fate, largely unnoticed by the general public. The world was embroiled in the tumultuous throes of World War II, and the news cycles were dominated by the grim realities of global conflict. For a man who had once captivated audiences with dazzling demonstrations and whose inventions had ushered in an entirely new era of electrification, his death was a quiet, almost anonymous event, a stark and tragic end for a titan of innovation who, in monetary terms, died a pauper. However, his quiet departure did not go entirely unremarked by those in power. Immediately following his death, the United States government, specifically the FBI and agents from the Office of Alien Property, moved swiftly and decisively to secure all of Tesla's papers, notes, and personal effects. This urgent seizure was driven by a profound concern. During wartime, any potential death ray research or other sensitive, potentially weaponizable inventions conceived by the eccentric but undeniably brilliant scientist could not be allowed to fall into enemy hands. The contents of his safe, his voluminous notebooks, and his experimental apparatus were meticulously catalogued and then classified, disappearing into the labyrinthine archives of government secrecy, further shrouding his final intellectual pursuits in mystery. 4. Decades following his death, Tesla's name remained largely relegated to the footnotes of history textbooks, often overshadowed by the more commercially successful and publicly celebrated figures like Thomas Edison. While his alternating current system continued to power the world, the man behind it faded from popular consciousness. However, within scientific and engineering circles, his profound contributions were never entirely forgotten. His patents, though expired, continued to form the bedrock of electrical engineering. The scientific community, recognizing the fundamental importance of his work on electromagnetism, eventually bestowed upon him a posthumous honor of immense significance. In 1960, the International Electrotechnical Commission, IEC, officially named the SI unit of magnetic flux density the Tesla T. This was a quiet but powerful acknowledgement of his fundamental contributions to the understanding and application of magnetic fields, ensuring his name would be forever etched into the very language of physics. The true resurgence of interest in Nikola Tesla, however, began much later, gaining significant momentum in the late 20th and early 21st centuries. This revival was fueled by several factors. As the world became increasingly technologically sophisticated, there was a growing appreciation for truly radical, paradigm-shifting innovation. Historians and biographers began to delve deeper into the primary sources, uncovering the full scope of his visionary ideas and the often unjust treatment he received during his lifetime. The advent of the Internet played a crucial role in this rediscovery, providing a platform for enthusiasts, independent researchers, and a new generation of curious minds to share information, discuss his theories, and disseminate previously obscure details about his life and work. Online communities formed, dedicated to exploring his patents, deciphering his notes, and debating the feasibility of his more fantastical concepts. This renewed interest wasn't merely academic. It resonated deeply with a public increasingly fascinated by the concept of the misunderstood genius and the potential of disruptive technologies. Tesla's story, with its dramatic highs and lows, its clashes with powerful industrialists, and its poignant ending, proved to be incredibly compelling. His transformation into a cultural icon began to accelerate, particularly among those who valued independent thought, scientific idealism, and a challenge to established norms. He became a symbol of the inventor who prioritized humanity's progress over personal profit, a stark contrast to the capitalist ethos that often dominated the narrative of the technological advancement. The enduring impact of Tesla's work is not merely historical. It is profoundly contemporary. His polyphase alternating current system remains the universal standard for power transmission and distribution worldwide, a silent, invisible infrastructure that underpins virtually every aspect of modern life. Without SE, our cities would not be illuminated, our factories would not run, and our homes would not be powered. Beyond this fundamental contribution, his early experiments and patents laid the groundwork for countless other technologies we now take for granted. His work with high-frequency currents and resonance circuits was foundational to the development of radio technology, even though Guglielmo Marconi is often credited as its inventor. Tesla's patents for radio communication circuits predated Marconi's successful transatlantic transmission, and a 1943 U.S. Supreme Court ruling actually upheld Tesla's priority in certain radio patents, though this came too late to significantly impact his life or public recognition. Furthermore, his pioneering work in remote control, exemplified by his radio-controlled boat demonstration in 1898, was the conceptual precursor to modern robotics, drones, and automated systems. His visions of wireless energy transmission, once dismissed as pure fantasy, are now being actively explored through technologies like resonant inductive coupling for wireless charging of devices and even electric vehicles. His ideas about harnessing natural energy sources, his early explorations into X-ray imaging, and his conceptualization of radar technology all demonstrate a mind that was not just ahead of its time, but often a century ahead. Even his more speculative ideas, like the death ray or global energy transmission, continue to inspire scientific inquiry and fuel the imaginations of engineers and futurists. Tesla's philosophical legacy extends beyond his inventions. He was a humanitarian who believed that science and technology should serve the betterment of all humanity, not just the enrichment of a few. He envisioned a world free from poverty and war, powered by abundant, clean energy, where information flowed freely. This utopian ideal, though never fully realized in his lifetime, resonates strongly with contemporary discussions about sustainable energy, universal access to technology, and the ethical implications of scientific progress. His life serves as a powerful reminder of the complex interplay between scientific genius, commercial interests, and societal acceptance. He was a man who saw the future with astonishing clarity, but often struggled to bring that future into being within the constraints of his own time. His story is a testament to the power of vision, the importance of perseverance, and the often delayed recognition of true genius. The world, slowly but surely, is finally catching up to Nikola Tesla. The enduring legacy of Nikola Tesla, once obscured by the shadows of commercial rivalry and his own eccentricities, has in recent decades undergone a profound and well-deserved renaissance. From being a largely forgotten figure, he has transformed into a global icon, a symbol of visionary genius, independent thought, and the often unacknowledged architect of our modern technological landscape. This resurgence in popular culture and academic interest is not merely a nostalgic revisiting of history. It is a critical reevaluation of his monumental contributions and a growing recognition of how deeply his ideas permeate our daily lives, often invisibly. His name, once relegated to specialized engineering texts, now graces the marquees of electric car companies, inspires countless documentaries, books, and even works of fiction, and sparks vibrant discussions across digital platforms. One of the most tangible and ubiquitous aspects of Tesla's legacy is, without question, the alternating current, AC system. It is the very backbone of our global electrical infrastructure, a silent, omnipresent force that powers virtually every aspect of contemporary civilization. From the colossal hydroelectric generators at Niagara Falls, built on his polyphase principles, to the smallest charger plugging into your wall, AC is the fundamental medium through which electricity is generated, transmitted, and consumed. Without Tesla's revolutionary insights into the rotating magnetic field, the efficient long-distance transmission of power would have remained an insurmountable challenge, confining electricity to localized, inefficient direct current grids. Our cities would not glow with vast networks of light. Our industries would not hum with automated machinery, and our homes would not be filled with the myriad of electrical appliances we now consider indispensable. His AC system liberated electricity from its geographical constraints, enabling the widespread electrification that fueled the Second Industrial Revolution and continues to drive technological progress today. Beyond the AC system, Tesla's influence extends into numerous other fields, many of which he pioneered decades before their mainstream adoption. His work with high-frequency currents and resonance circuits was absolutely foundational to the development of radio technology. While Guglielmo Marconi is widely credited with the invention of radio, it was Tesla who, years earlier, patented many of the fundamental components and principles, including the four-tuned circuit essential for radio communication. A landmark U.S. Supreme Court ruling in 1943, though posthumous for Tesla, actually upheld the priority of his patents over Marconi's, acknowledging the true intellectual lineage of radio. This quiet legal victory, coming after his death, underscored the extent to which his work had been appropriated or overlooked. Furthermore, his pioneering experiments in remote control, exemplified by his astonishing demonstration of a radio-controlled boat in Madison Square Garden in 1898, laid the conceptual and practical groundwork for modern robotics, drones, and automated systems. He envisioned a future where machines could perform complex tasks autonomously or be controlled from a distance, freeing humanity from repetitive labor. This foresight was remarkable, predicting technologies that would only become feasible with the advent of microprocessors and advanced computing power in the late 20th century. His visions of wireless energy transmission, once dismissed as pure fantasy and the reason for the downfall of Wardenclyffe, are now being actively explored and implemented through technologies like resonant inductive coupling for wireless charging of smartphones, electric vehicles, and even medical implants. The dream of a world free from power cords, where energy is beamed through the air, is slowly but surely becoming a reality, directly inspired by Tesla's audacious concepts, even his more speculative and controversial ideas, such as his conceptualization of radar technology, which he described decades before its practical implementation, his early explorations into X-ray imaging, and his theoretical work on particle beam weapons, his infamous death ray, demonstrate a mind that was not just ahead of its time, but often a century ahead. While some of these concepts remained theoretical or were only partially developed, they reveal his unparalleled foresight and his ability to conceptualize technologies that would only become feasible with future scientific advancements and material discoveries. His death ray concept, though never fully realized, continues to inspire scientific inquiry and fuel the imaginations of engineers and futurists, prompting discussions about directed energy weapons and their potential impact on global security. Tesla's philosophical legacy is as profound as his scientific one. He was, at heart, a humanitarian who believed that science and technology should serve the betterment of all humanity, not just the enrichment of a select few. He envisioned a world free from poverty and war, powered by abundant, clean energy, where information flowed freely across borders, fostering understanding and progress. This utopian ideal, though never fully realized in his lifetime, and often clashing with the commercial realities of his era, resonates strongly with contemporary discussions about sustainable energy, universal access to technology, and the ethical implications of scientific progress. He was a staunch advocate for renewable energy sources, long before the term became commonplace, understanding the finite nature of fossil fuels and the immense potential of hydroelectric power. His life story serves as a powerful reminder of the complex interplay between scientific genius, commercial interests, and societal acceptance. He was a man who saw the future with astonishing clarity, but often struggled to bring that future into being within the constraints of his own time. Hampered by financial woes, ruthless competition, and his own unique personality, his journey is a testament to the power of unwavering vision, the importance of perseverance in the face of adversity, and the often delayed recognition of true genius. The world, slowly but surely, is finally catching up to Nikola Tesla, recognizing him not just as an inventor, but as a prophet of the modern age, whose ideas continue to shape our present and inspire our future. His name now stands as a beacon for innovation, a reminder that the most revolutionary ideas often come from those who dare to think differently, to challenge the status quo, and to envision a world transformed by the power of human ingenuity. As our extraordinary journey through the life and unparalleled legacy of Nikola Tesla draws to a close, we stand at the precipice of a profound realization. The world we inhabit, illuminated and interconnected, is in countless fundamental ways a direct manifestation of his singular genius. We have traversed from his tempestuous birth in a small Croatian village, marked by a cosmic flash of lightning, to his early demonstrations of an almost supernatural intellect, a mind capable of visualizing complex machinery with perfect clarity, conducting entire experiments within the boundless confines of his imagination. We witnessed the genesis of his most revolutionary concept, the alternating current, AC, system, born from a keen observation of inefficiency in a DC dynamo and nurtured into a complete vision of global electrification. We then plunged into the tumultuous war of the currents, a fierce, often brutal, battle for the future of power, where Tesla's elegant and superior AC system, championed by George Westinghouse, ultimately triumphed over the entrenched direct current empire of Thomas Edison, culminating in the dazzling spectacle of the Chicago World's Fair and the monumental harnessing of Niagara Falls. But Tesla's vision, as we've explored, extended far beyond the mere practicalities of electrifying cities. He was a man who dared to dream on a planetary scale, conceiving of a world system that would transmit limitless, free energy and information wirelessly across the globe, a utopian ideal embodied by the tragic, unfinished grandeur of Wardenclyffe Tower. His later years, marked by increasing eccentricity and financial hardship, saw him continue to invent and theorize, laying conceptual groundwork for technologies like remote control, robotics, radar, and even forms of wireless charging. Decades, sometimes even a century, before their eventual realization. His quiet passing in 1943, largely unnoticed by a world consumed by war, seemed to seal his fate as a forgotten genius, his papers seized, his contributions minimized. Yet, as we've seen, a true measure of his impact could not remain buried. Slowly but surely, through the tireless work of historians, engineers, and a new generation of enthusiasts, Nikola Tesla has emerged from the shadows, claiming his rightful place as one of history's most pivotal figures. His name, now synonymous with innovation and disruptive technology, echoes in the very units of magnetic flux density, in the names of groundbreaking companies, and in the ongoing global pursuit of sustainable energy and universal connectivity. The alternating current that powers your home, the radio signals that carry your favorite broadcasts, the remote control that operates your television, the very concept of a world seamlessly connected by invisible waves, all bear the indelible imprint of his extraordinary mind. Tesla's story is more than just a chronicle of inventions. It is a powerful narrative about the complex interplay between scientific brilliance, entrepreneurial ambition, and human idealism. He was a man who believed deeply that science should serve humanity, that knowledge should be shared, and that technology could uplift and liberate. His struggles, his betrayals, and his ultimate isolation serve as a poignant reminder of the challenges faced by those who dare to think too far ahead, to challenge the status quo, and to prioritize the collective good over personal gain. He was, in essence, a prophet of the modern age, whose visions were so grand, so far-reaching, that his own time could barely comprehend them, let alone fully embrace them. As we conclude this deep dive into the story of Nikola Tesla, we invite you to carry forward the spirit of curiosity and critical thinking that defined his life. Reflect on the invisible forces that shape our world, question the accepted norms, and always seek to understand the often unsung heroes whose contributions form the very bedrock of our progress. The story of Tesla reminds us that true innovation often springs from a place of relentless inquiry, unwavering conviction, and a profound desire to improve the human condition. Thank you for joining us on this illuminating journey, for your time, your attention, and your shared fascination with the remarkable legacy of Nikola Tesla. Your engagement fuels our passion for uncovering these vital historical narratives. If you found this exploration as electrifying as we did, and if you appreciate content that delves deep into the lives of those who shaped our world, please consider subscribing to our channel. Your support helps us continue to bring these compelling stories to light, ensuring that the giants upon whose shoulders we stand receive the recognition they so richly deserve. Until our next exploration into the annals of human ingenuity, stay curious, stay inspired, and keep questioning the currents that power your world. Goodbye for now.